Up until World War I, more people in war died from disease than from battles. The reason this is because of things like their waste and unsanitary conditions. Now, a lot of people read things like the book of Leviticus back in the, which was written 2,000 years ago more than 2,000 years ago to the Jews, like probably around 4,000, 3,000 or 4,000 years ago maybe, to the Jews. And they have all kinds of weird laws in it, like weird health laws, weird things that if you read it, you think, well, what's the point of that? But if you actually think about it and study it, you can see God's preserving Israel perfectly, giving them all kinds of sanitary ritual washings. That before every meal, they had to wash their hands. Whenever they had to go to the bathroom, they had to take their waste away from them out of the camp, and all these different laws that nobody knew about. Nobody knew where disease came from back then and stuff like that. And there's all these scientific health things in the Bible that nobody knew back then, but God gave them to Israel. I would say go to the website, because the website's awesome. It gives 101 different things. Those are two of the really good ones. Now, another great thing that proves the Bible, and this is what I have to actually read this, is prophecy. It's another great thing that tells us that the Bible is from God. Because there are thousands of prophecies in this book that have been fulfilled and are being fulfilled. If you study the book of Daniel, Daniel was written 500 years before Christ, 500 BC. If you study the book of Daniel, you'll read about, Daniel talks about a massive empire that's coming into being. The empire will be divided into 4. The empire will be led by what is called Stride and Strong He-Goat from the west, which basically means like a brilliant, powerful leader from the west. He will march several nations underfoot and then suddenly be cut off. He will die. And then his empire will be divided into 4, which will then merge into 2, which will then become 1. That I'm paraphrasing, but that's what a prophecy in the book of Daniel says. I think it's prophesying 200 years later, the time of Alexander the Great, because of the specifics. The similarities are so compelling. They're astounding. Alexander the Great, he came from the west, started in the western half of Europe, marched many nations underfoot. Alexander dies suddenly in his 20s, and his 4 kingdoms are divided, and his kingdom is divided into 4, led by his 4 generals. The four become 2, if I'm saying these right, the Ptolemek and the Seleucid. I think I'm saying those right. Those 2 become the Roman Empire. This is a fantastic prophecy, which is so specific in the details, it's got to be from God, or it's an extremely lucky guess. Now, if there was just one of those, we could say that's an extremely lucky guess, if it's just one. You see, one way we can decide whether the Bible is true or not is if time and time again it's been proven wrong through history, or if it made prophecies that don't come true. But the fact of the matter is, time and time again, it's been proven right throughout history by archaeology and science and history. Another great thing, this is one's, if you can read the prophecies of Jesus as well, it's amazing how those are fulfilled. But people make the argument that those are all within the Bible. They're all internal prophecies that were made, and they could have just been made up. I don't think so. Very, very unlikely. But I want to read you guys another prophecy. This one's very compelling, and it's also a little bit scary as well. Now, Jesus prophesied as he was walking by the Jewish temple one day with his disciples that no stone in this temple will be left. They will be destroyed. In AD 40, the temple is destroyed, and the Jews are homeless. They're left without a home, without a nation. They're conquered, they're destroyed. Now, in Isaiah 11, verse 11 through 22, it says that the Jews will be regathered in unbelief from the 4 corners of the earth. Regathered in unbelief means the Jews don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe he is God or was from God. They will be regathered in their unbelief from the 4 corners of the earth. And in Isaiah 66, 7 through 8, and in Ezekiel 37, 20 through 21, 2 different prophets prophesy the same thing. They say, Israel, it is said Israel in the state of Israel will be reestablished. Basically, a nation that has been conquered, destroyed, and they don't have a home anymore, will come back together, will regain their cultural identity, their homeland, which has never happened to any group in history. No people group ever has ever been conquered, destroyed, scattered, and come back thousands of years later. May 14th, 1948, it happened. The Jews became a nation again. Israel they got their homeland back and became a nation. Now, you guys know about the parable, or Jesus and the fig tree. Jesus goes and curses a tree because it doesn't have any fruit on it. If you read it just for what it is, it sounds like Jesus just gets mad at a tree and curses it. But there's symbolism in there as well. If you read passages in the Bible like Jeremiah 24:10 and Hosea 9:10 and Nahum 3:12 and things like that, read scriptures in the Bible. Oftentimes, a fig tree represents the Jewish people. They're represented by a fig tree. And Jesus curses this fig tree, and then he explains later about the prophecy. I'm going to read you guys. If you want, you guys can turn with me if you want to Luke chapter 21. I'm going to read it. Teacher, they asked, when will these things happen? Jesus is talking about the end times. He just told them all about the end times, the end of the world, basically. Teacher, they asked, when will all these things happen? And what will be the sign that we are about to take, these things are about to take place? He replied, watch out that you are not deceived, for many will come in my name, claiming I am he, and the time is near. Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and revolutions, and do not be frightened, these things must happen first, but the end will not come right away. Then he said to them, nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, famines, pestilences in various places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven. You can keep reading down, and it talks about some more, but I want to go to verse 29. Where he says, and he told them this parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they sprout leaves, you can see for yourself and know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things happening, you will know that the kingdom of God is near. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Now, if you look at verse 29 carefully, do you think it's a coincidence that Jesus says, look at the fig tree and all the trees? Do you think that's a coincidence that Jesus would use fig tree as the one tree he mentions? I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Now, I interpret this to say, and I could be wrong, if the fig tree is representing the Jewish people, and when they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves and know that summer is near, talking about trees. When the Jewish people become a nation again, they're rebuilding the temple, sprouting leaves, they're multiplying, they've become a nation again. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. These things are talking about the prophecies in the end times, things like one world government and all kinds of stuff like that. I take this to mean, and I could be wrong, that this generation will not pass away before the end comes. That's kind of a scary thought. But it's also an encouraging thought, if you're a Christian. All right. So basically, those are a few reasons why I believe we can trust the Bible. Now, not too long ago, I realized I was praying for a sign from God, something miraculous, and he didn't give it to me. And I told you I know why. The reason he did not give me this sign is because, and I'm not saying getting stuff like that is a bad thing at all, because it's definitely not. It encourages faith. There's testimonies that can encourage other people's faith about people seeing angels, about people getting remarkable coincidences that have to be from God. I wanted one, but I didn't get it, and I know why. If I had gotten it, that would have been enough for me. I would have believed, and that would have been it. But God wanted me to search this stuff out, to look for it, to find answers for questions so that I can give a reasoned response to anyone who would ask me for the hope that I have. I know what I believe, I know why I believe it, and I can communicate it effectively to others. And I feel like a lot of Christians today, a lot of them don't really know that. And it's not bad. I mean, you can believe what you believe, but it's very good to be able to communicate it effectively to others. And I realize now, as I was looking back, the whole time I was praying for a sign, God didn't give it to me the way I wanted. God didn't give it to me the way I expected, but he was giving it to me. And everybody I was talking to about said, just have faith. Just believe. Just stick with it. He'll give you what you need. He will. Just believe. Just have faith. And I was like, I don't wanna. Give me what I want now. I hate it when people say I told you so, but anybody here who told me that all those years ago, just believe, just have faith, God will give you what you need, you can say it. You can say I told you so, because you were right. And God does that for everyone. The Bible is a reliable collection of historical documents written down by eyewitnesses during the lifetime of other eyewitnesses. They report supernatural events. Jesus walking on water, healing the sick. A woman with an issue of blood just touches the hem of his garment and is healed.